And we're back. Yes, we're back with another weekly episode of the Rocker Dog Podcast. The short and sweet show that talks to musicians about their canine companions and the value these creatures bring to our lives. I'm your host, Tim Dill, along with Charlie, the creature who brings value to my life. And today on the show, we welcome former co-founder of the band, the Mowglis, singer-songwriter Colin Dieden, who since 2019 now performs under the nickname Little Hurt and has enjoyed a string of indie rock hits like Alaska and I Can Do Better Than You. We caught up with Colin in his car on the way to an appointment, and this is his sweater-loving rocker dog.
We're talking to Sweetie.
Okay, and what kind of dog is Sweetie?
That's hard to tell. She's like a Terrier, Chihuahua kind of mix.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you know, I know she's a rescue. Do you have any idea of age?
She's going to be 4 in September. She's 3 now.
Okay. And judging by what I've read just on your social media, you said she was rescued from a horrible boarding situation. Do you have any details of that? I mean, what's kind of the background of that story?
Yeah. So I went to a dog shelter, a rescue in the Valley in LA, and I walked in and there was, like a bunch of dogs just everywhere. And then I saw her. She's tiny. I mean, I don't know, she must have been 7 pounds then or something. And she was just in this big room, concrete room, and she was in the back corner, like balled up like a cinnamon roll or something. And I was like, that's her. And then I asked them, and I guess there was she came from a situation where the woman had I don't know, 20 dogs or something. And she was all ratty and matted, and
right.
And so we got her out of that situation.
That's crazy. Now, what was the context of getting her when you did at that time? And correct me if I'm wrong, does this go back to about early summer of 2022?
Yeah, that sounds about right. I think that's right. My concept of time is insanely distorted.
Well, again, I'm going off social media, so I go to the earliest picture where you say, hey, this is my new dog, and okay.
Oh yeah. Well, if that's how you did it, then yes, Yep.
But what was going on in your life at that point where you're like, I'm going to seek out a dog?
Yeah, I had been going through a lot of life changes. Was going through what was for me a pretty awful breakup, and it was hard to get through alone. And I find that I don't typically let my problems weigh heavily on those around me. I'm trying to learn to do as little of that as possible. So I just was like, I want a little puppy to hang out with, and she's like the most important aspect of my life now.
That's great. And do you have a history with dogs? Like, did you know I can bring this dog in my life and kind of rely on her to be, my confidant?
Yeah. I had a dog years and years and years ago who unfortunately died in a horrible car situation that I don't even want to talk about because no one wants to hear about that. And then I had 2 other dogs that unfortunately went with my ex. And
right.
So, and that was painful. So I decided it was time with my new life, to have my own dog, and that's sort of where I landed.
And given that you're a musician, you really depend on getting out there and playing live and touring and crossing the country. Were you reticent, to take on this responsibility?
No, because I always knew that I'd figure it out. She's like, I don't know how normal people are with their dogs, but I'm not like that. Like, she's like goes everywhere with me, and if she can't absolutely can't go somewhere, I have a few, 2 people that I trust 100% with her. Only 2 in the whole world. There's 8 billion people. So she was always going to be priority number 1, even above a show. I mean, right. For real. I would turn down a show in the event that there was no reality where I could, so she's priority number 1. And so I just never really thought about that.
Yeah. And who are these 2 people that are so trustworthy that you can, rely on them?
Yeah, just my mom and my girlfriend.
Okay, perfect. And just going a little bit back to history of dogs, I'm trying to put faces to names. And again, going through social media, I saw you walking a dog at one point in a picture. It looked like a mid-size, not quite a golden retriever, And then there's another
Um,
post similarly in these are both in 2020 where you got a matching tracksuit with a small dog. So are these the two dogs that unfortunately went, with the other half of a
um,
relationship?
yes.
Okay, we can leave it at that. We can't, we don't need to get into that drama. And I've touched upon that before on the show where it's something when I started the show, I never really thought I would be getting into, but there's been numerous incidents where people either split custody or, one or the other, took the dog, took possession of the dog. So, um,
Yeah, unfortunately, now, yeah, we it just didn't work out in the way where she was, gonna split custody with the dog. So I let it be at peace, and I had to do what I had to do, and now I have a beautiful dog who I love with all my heart.
yeah, I can tell by your posts. It's very endearing.
Yep, thank you.
So, having a podcast called Rocker Dog and talking to musicians about dog, lately I've been like, okay, let's pull out the Rocker Dog credentials. So,
Uh-huh.
does Sweetie, does she go to gigs? Has she been to gigs? Has she gone on tour with you?
No, she hasn't. I've never quite figured out what I would do with her at a show. I guess it's probably earmuffs for dogs, but I haven't explored that. I just, and also to be honest, I haven't been playing a ton of shows. I'm just now starting to kind of pick up my touring schedule again because it was COVID and it was, a few like, and I was figuring out. I've been working a lot on other artists' records. I mean,
Hmm.
tons. I'm writing songs for so many people, and so for a second there, and I had some stuff with my label. That changed. We've had various and then new opportunities and just things are constantly evolving. And, the live aspect sort of took a backseat and it's just kind of now getting back or starting to pick back up for me, which, I'm balancing with, my life looks different than it did when I was, even 4 years ago and 5 years ago. And so I'm creating a touring versus home balance that works for me because my writing is so lucrative for me.
Yeah.
TV, film, other artists. That's really become a huge part of my business.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds nice, especially the way you put it, that there's a balance. I would be willing to bet that, back in the Mowgli days, you guys were, constantly on the move.
Yeah, we were like on tour for like all of or for me personally, like all of like my developmental years. I was just like a different person. I was always moving, and there was no stability. And coming from a life where with my parents, it's so in a lot of ways it's always been instability for me in terms of knowing where I fit into like my families, and then being on the road for so long. They had us on the road for like I don't know, like 10 years. I felt like. I mean, I don't know if it's a true figure,
Yeah.
but it's not far off.
Yeah. I
And
feel like I read an article where you might have mentioned that it was a good 10 years of pushing the rock uphill.
yeah, and we did a lot of incredible things. And I still have times where I wish I could, we could do it again. But I am just trying to figure out my life and the touring versus home balance right now seems to slant a little bit more towards me being at home, and I like the quiet. I didn't used
Yeah.
to like the quiet. The quiet used to drive me nuts, but now I've learned to I learned to love it.
Interesting to hear. Also, back to these quote unquote credentials. Has she been in the studio with you? I'm assuming yes,
Oh
maybe
yeah.
home studios or professional studios.
Oh yeah. She's been in tons of studios. I just had her in Courtney Ballard. I like bringing her over to his studio. He's done like 5 Seconds of Summer and All Time Low and a bunch of other bands. He's an incredible producer. I bring her to his studio a lot. He loves her and he's nice up there. I bring her to studios all the time. She's so chill. She just sits there kind of like balled up in the couch. I bring her a little blanket to sit on so she knows like where her spot is.
Nice.
And where I could put that blanket anywhere. She has this little pink baby blanket that I bought her from Nordstrom the day that I took her home, and I could place that thing anywhere. And she's like, "This is my bed. This is my zone." So
That's awesome.
um, it makes it pretty easy to bring her to the studio.
Do you find her presence makes others happy? Does she have a calming presence, or is a dog always a welcome sight?
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't trust people that don't have, that their feelings aren't like that towards dogs. Like, I can't trust someone who isn't interested in dogs, or doesn't, like, just kind of ignores them or something. Like,
Yeah.
I that's just so different. And everyone's different, it's fine. Maybe some people have bad experiences with dogs, or maybe some people just don't care. But I'm just, the way that I am is like, I just know I'm not going to have much in common with that person.
Yeah.
um
Has that ever manifested itself in a decision that you made? Like I've heard that, I heard that recently, that someone says, I don't, if you don't like dogs, we probably won't get along. But I'm just curious, in your world, has there ever been an interaction where you've kind of, I wouldn't say written somebody off, but just like either moved on or decided to work with someone else?
yeah, I think that there's been times where I was like, someone reacted coldly towards my dog or something, and I was like, well, this guy's kind of a dick. you know i'm not going to
Yeah.
pursue I'm not going to pursue like a serious friendship with someone who's able to be that cold about something so sweet.
Yeah. Now I know it's only been a little over a year that you've had Sweetie. Has she been on record or video?
I feel like she's in the video for Alaska, but that oh, no, that was one of my
That was
old
probably
dogs.
predates her. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, now that you say that, I feel like I got to work her into something. I don't know that I do have her on anything official, but how about this? Because of this conversation, next video I shoot, next official video, I'll talk to the director and we'll get her in there.
That sounds good. I'll hold you to it, and I'll promote it
We got
once
a
I
lot.
see it
We
that
got a
we did
lot.
this.
Yeah, we got a lot of videos coming up, so a lot of stuff to shoot. So she has plenty of opportunities to be a star.
Great, great to hear. Now that brings me to a number of times I'll ask if a dog is on brand, and oftentimes I bring this question most up when I have like, for instance, Jay Weinberg. He's now the ex drummer of Slipknot, but I had him on. I had the drummer for Hatebreed, Matt Byrne, on. So there's this juxtaposition of this hard, aggressive music with these, and they each had like these small dogs, much like yours, under 10-pound dogs. So I'm usually asking a dog on brand, but in researching you and listening to your music and reading the articles, you've kind of been described as depression pop, happy, upbeat music coupled with, more profound lyrics. So would you say is Sweetie on brand with kind of what you do in your style of music? Is Sweetie like on the outside a very happy-go-lucky, fluffy dog and a little deeper on the inside?
Um, I don't think that she is deep on the inside. I think that I mean, I don't know, maybe like her past haunts her from that concrete floor I found her on, but I don't know. I don't think she remembers anything past like 12 minutes ago. She just
Right.
she she's the happiest little girl. I've never seen anything so happy. She's just like teeming and bubbling with like joy all the time, and that's like coming. I mean, anyone who has a dog knows what it feels like coming home to your dog, and how it's like the most incredible, like warm feeling, inviting feeling. So no, I don't think that Sweetie's anything like my music. And I like the depression pop thing. People call me that online. I've never called myself that, but I don't really call myself anything. But that's funny because that depression pop thing keeps popping up, and I mean, I guess it's a good way to describe it. I don't know what I do for a living. People can say whatever they want about me. It's fine.
Hey, as long as they're
I'm not.
talking.
I'm not super concerned.
Good, good. Do you have any go-to stories for Sweetie? Has there been any drama? Has there been any vet visits? Has there been any, destruction of anything of value?
Let me think. I can't remember a time where she did anything that pissed me off. She's not one of those like I'm gonna eat your shoes dogs.
Right.
I mean, she's ruined a lot of rugs. I can't quite get her. She pisses inside
I
sometimes.
was going to say
Whatever.
potty training.
Yeah, potty training for her. She shouldn't excel. She wouldn't get a PhD from anywhere for potty training. But it's great because she's got other things like sleeping and kissing.
Yeah, yeah. Another post I saw very recently was it looked like you were, I think you're over at a friend's house who has a boxer
Oh,
dog.
that's my it's my girlfriend's boxer.
Okay, perfect.
So yeah, they live together.
Okay. And you're watching the Chiefs. I know you're a Midwest kid, so I wanted to ask, what's Sweetie make of the whole Taylor Swift, Travis Kelsey thing? Is it going to be a positive for the Chiefs at the end of the day, or is it going to just lead to their collapse?
Well, it's weird because Travis Kelce was playing really well before Taylor is even part of this conversation, but it seems that he plays better when she's there. I'm not sure what that is. I mean, I think that everyone wants to make their people proud. And I remember being a kid playing ice hockey or football, whatever, growing up, and like, if my dad was there or something, you always want to play better and play harder and impress,
Yeah,
look what I can do or whatever. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm glad the NFL stopped. I think they said like we got to stop having Taylor a game, or we can't play her music or something, because the whole conversation, the whole game, these announcers are talking about putting in these Taylor Swift references, and they're talking about a lot of the world cares about Taylor Swift, but there's some people that really are just trying to watch a football game and aren't really like, I feel like people that don't fanaticize about things, that
right.
just can like things without it turning over to being like the fanatical aspect, which is fine, but like you can't expect everyone to be like that. That's really weird to think that everyone's going to act the way that you're acting about anything. That's across the board blanket statement. So I think that people should just let it be. And but I also don't really have a like a dog in this fight. You know what I mean? Like, there you go, rocker dog. I don't have a dog. I don't really care. It was just kind of like cringy, hearing of these guys like try to like these like 53-year-old guys trying to like inject Taylor Swift lyrics into a,
Right.
a thing about a touchback or something. It's like, shut up, man.
Yeah, yeah. I think Saturday Night Live had a good time with that.
Oh, I didn't see that, but I will watch it.
So, what would you say the biggest indulgent you've bestowed on Sweetie is? Do you go out of your way to spend and get her the finest all natural food, or
Yeah, she has a multitude of fairly expensive sweaters.
nice.
And it's funny actually. I was such a psycho. One of my old dogs, I bought her $100 denim jacket from a dog store in Beverly Hills, and I was like, I didn't even think twice. I was like, obviously. Um,
Got, gotta
but
have it.
yeah, yeah, Sweetie has everything. She walks in the mornings when she's cold because she's so little. She gets cold, on walks, and even inside my house sometimes. But she has like this furry sweater with like angel wings on the back, flop when she walks, and she has like
Nice.
a turtleneck sweater she wears, and she has yeah, she eats relatively, I guess, relatively expensive food. I'm not sure. But what other people? She doesn't eat kibble. I've actually made her food before with like, man, I'm kind of a psycho.
You're no
She
different
has,
from a lot of people. I'll give you that.
I mean, she could ask me for anything. I mean, if she needed like a small like smart car or something, I'd probably buy it for her. There's nothing. I'm not saying no to this dog about anything.
I think there's your video treatment. Her driving around in a little smart car.
It's not the worst idea.
Well, I wrap up every show with what I call the zoomies, and that's just 5 quick questions. The first one is, do you kiss Sweetie on the mouth?
Yep.
I think I saw video evidence of that, or picture evidence of that. Okay. Question two: if Sweetie had a theme song, what would it be? If she had walk-up music to home plate or red carpet music, does she have a song that would come to mind?
I think it would be "Make My Dreams Come True" by Hall and Oates.
Oh, great. Love it. Love it. Question three. I know we've kind of touched upon this, but if she does go on tour with you, what would she insist be on the tour rider?
Oh, she would have to have those no hide bones that she chews on,
Hmm.
and cheese. So she gets like, I'm not. Do you know the cheese tax? Do you ever pay the cheese tax?
No. What's that?
Okay, so the cheese tax is, if I go, it's so weird. It's not just any food; it's cheese, like in specific. But she, if I go to my fridge and open, like, cheese often comes on like like little plastic, string cheese or whatever. Like,
Hmm.
she can hear cheese from like 3 rooms away, from like the guests, or like my studio way down the hall. She'll hear me in the kitchen opening like cheese, and she'll run, and no matter if I have a piece of cheese, she has to have a little piece. I'm like, I have to pay the cheese tax, or else she'll literally shut down and just stare at me. Like, So cheese, like little cubes of cheese, would be on her rider for sure.
Okay, I love that story. Great story. Question 4 is, do you have a dog voice? Do you speak to her in a dog voice or do you give her a dog voice?
Yes and no. I'm not gonna do it.
Okay. I've tried to pressure people before. You're a performer. You need to perform, but I understand I wouldn't do it myself. And, and then last but not least, is there a dog organization or a service that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, Wagmore, here in LA is great. Toby's Small Dog Rescue.
Hmm.
One of those is the one I think that I adopted Sweetie through. I
I
I
think
don't
Wagmore
actually
you
remember.
mentioned, I have Wagmore written down, and I think that's what
Yeah,
you mentioned on your post from the hoarding situation.
yeah. I think it was Wagmore, and they are awesome, and I mean they are saving dogs, and so I like them a lot, and I would like to tell them thank you.
That sounds good. They're all doing a tough job. I know all the shelters across the country are their backs against the wall. So yeah, any love we can get them is appreciated, I'm sure.
Any way I could help them, I'm here to help.
Oh,
To
good to know.
shed some light on their cause.
Excellent. Well, what do you have in store for 2024? Anything you can
Um,
divulge?
a record. We're making a record.
All
Um,
right.
full blown, man. We are starting the process. We've started the process, and we're gonna make the best record I've ever made my entire life. And
Awesome.
that is a personal challenge that I will achieve.
Well, best of luck, and we look forward to hearing it. Do you have are you aiming towards a certain date? Will it allow for a summer tour or anything, specific like that?
No idea. We have a lot of irons in the fire right now, and some very exciting new opportunities. So nothing I can talk about, but
Okay.
we are definitely developing a plan for the year that will work for everyone.
Well, we look forward to it. Well, Colin, our work
Thank
is
you.
done here. Thank you so much for giving me your time, and I loved hearing about Sweetie, and I appreciate your enthusiasm towards your dog. It's good to hear, and I'm at this podcast just to try to spread the good word of the value these dogs bring to our everyday lives. So thanks for sharing.
All right. Well, thank you so much for talking to me. I really appreciate it.
Hey, my pleasure, Colin. Talk soon.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.